Take cabbage, nutritious vegetable. Good source of vitamin C, fiber, some minerals, standard stuff. Now, ferment that same cabbage for 3 weeks. The vitamin C increases. New vitamins appear that weren't there before. Specifically, vitamin K2, which your body cannot get from plants. The bacteria population explodes to billions of beneficial organisms per serving. Bioactive compounds form that reduce inflammation, modulate immune function, and protect cardiovascular health. You didn't add anything. You just let naturally occurring bacteria do what they've done for thousands of years. The result is nutritionally superior to the raw vegetable by almost every measurable metric. This is documented science, published research, peer-reviewed studies. Yet most people still think fermentation is just a preservation technique, as if that's all it does. The transformation is biochemical, and it's profound. What fermentation actually does put chopped cabbage in salt brine, submerge it, seal the container. Lactobacillus bacteria, naturally present on the cabbage, begin consuming the vegetable's carbohydrates, producing lactic acid as a byproduct. The pH drops. The environment becomes acidic enough to inhibit pathogens while allowing beneficial species to thrive. This is lactofermentation, the oldest food preservation method in human history, dating back 8,000 years. But calling it preservation undersells what's happening. The bacteria aren't just preventing spoilage. They're synthesizing new nutrients, breaking down anti-nutritional compounds, and producing bioactive metabolites with documented health effects. A 2023 review analyzing fermented vegetables found that fermentation increases vitamin B complex levels, synthesizes vitamin K2 that didn't exist in the raw vegetables, enhances antioxidant capacity, and produces antimicrobial peptides and organic acids that inhibit pathogenic microorganisms. The raw cabbage was healthy. The fermented version is medicinal-grade nutrition. The vitamin K2 discovery. Here's something most people don't know. Plants contain vitamin K1. Only bacteria produce vitamin K2, and your body needs both. Vitamin K1 from leafy greens primarily supports blood clotting. Vitamin K2, produced by bacterial fermentation, activates proteins that regulate calcium metabolism, directing calcium into bones and teeth instead of soft tissues like arteries. This is why vitamin K2 reduces cardiovascular disease risk and improves bone density. Studies on natto, fermented soybeans, show it contains up to 1,000 micrograms of vitamin K, 2 per 100 grams. That's over 7 times the daily requirement. The bacteria Bacillus subtilis synthesizes this vitamin during fermentation. It doesn't exist in raw soybeans. Natto is the undisputed king of vitamin K2, specifically the MK7 form. Sauerkraut and other fermented vegetables also produce vitamin K2, though in smaller amounts and typically different forms, MK8 and MK9 rather than MK7. Fresh cabbage contains 0 vitamin K2. Fermented cabbage contains measurable menaquinones synthesized by lactic acid bacteria during fermentation. A 2023 study analyzing fermented cabbage found vitamin K2 production increased with fermentation time and varied by bacterial strain. The longer the fermentation, the more diverse menaquinones the bacteria synthesized. This isn't supplementation. This is bacteria creating nutrients that weren't present in the original food. They're manufacturing vitamins as part of their metabolic process. You're consuming the product of that biological manufacturing. The probiotic population 1, serving of traditionally fermented sauerkraut, can contain up to 10 billion colony-forming units of beneficial bacteria. That's comparable to a high-potency probiotic capsule, except it's in food, surrounded by the metabolic products those bacteria produced, in a matrix your gut recognizes as nourishment. The dominant species in fermented vegetables are lactic acid bacteria, Lactobacillus plantarum, Lactobacillus brevis, Leuconostoc, Pediococcus, and Weissella species. Research shows these aren't just passengers, they're biologically active. Lactobacillus plantarum enhances gut barrier integrity and reduces intestinal inflammation. Clinical trials link it to reduced symptoms of irritable bowel syndrome. Lactobacillus brevis produces antimicrobial peptides and increases natural killer cell activity, part of your immune system's first line of defense. Lactobacillus sakei, common in kimchi, inhibits pathogens and has been linked in emerging research to reduced respiratory infections. A 2024 review noted that these bacteria, while transient, they pass through rather than permanently colonizing, still provide powerful immune and anti-inflammatory benefits when consumed consistently. They create favorable conditions for your native gut bacteria to thrive. They modulate inflammatory responses. They produce metabolites your gut uses as fuel. The fact that they don't permanently colonize doesn't diminish their effect. Their temporary presence is enough to shift the gut environment in beneficial directions. What the bacteria produce. Fermentation doesn't just add bacteria. It creates an entirely new chemical profile. Organic acids, lactic acid bacteria produce lactate, acetate, and other short-chain fatty acids. These compounds lower pH, inhibit pathogenic bacteria, and serve as primary energy sources for colon cells. Research links short-chain fatty acid production to reduced colon cancer risk and improved metabolic health. Bioactive peptides. Bacterial enzymes break down vegetable proteins into smaller peptide chains with documented biological activity. Studies show these peptides exhibit antioxidant, anti-inflammatory, and ACE inhibitory effects, the same mechanism blood pressure medications use. Enhanced polyphenols. Fermentation converts bound polyphenols into free forms that are more bioavailable. A 2024 study found fermented vegetables showed significantly higher antioxidant activity than raw vegetables due to this polyphenol transformation. Bacteriocins, antimicrobial proteins produced by lactic acid bacteria that inhibit specific pathogenic species. These compounds show activity against Listeria, Salmonella, E. coli, and antibiotic-resistant strains. You're not eating cabbage anymore. You're eating a complex matrix of bacterial metabolites with measurable physiological effects. The anti-nutritional breakdown, raw vegetables contain compounds that inhibit nutrient absorption. Fermentation eliminates many of them. Phytates bind to minerals like iron, zinc, and calcium, reducing bioavailability. Bacterial enzymes break down phytates during fermentation. Studies show fermented vegetables have significantly lower phytate content than raw vegetables, meaning better mineral absorption. Glucosinolates, sulfur-containing compounds found in cruciferous vegetables like cabbage, are broken down by bacterial enzymes during fermentation into isothiocyanates. These metabolites have documented anti-cancer properties and are more bioavailable in fermented form than in raw vegetables. Lectins and tannins, which can interfere with digestion and nutrient absorption, are partially broken down by bacterial enzymes. The fermentation process doesn't just preserve vegetables. It makes them more digestible and nutritionally accessible than they were raw. Why this isn't common knowledge? The global probiotic supplement market is worth $58 billion annually. Capsules, powders, refrigerated bottles, all containing bacterial strains isolated from fermented foods or human gut samples. Meanwhile, traditionally fermented vegetables cost pennies to make at home and deliver comparable probiotic populations, along with all the metabolic byproducts those bacteria produce in a food matrix. The supplement industry can't patent fermentation. They can patent specific strains, formulation processes, delivery mechanisms. But they can't patent the 8,000-year-old practice of putting vegetables in salt brine. Research funding follows patentability. Multi-million-dollar clinical trials go toward capsules and formulations. Traditional fermentation methods get small studies with limited funding. The knowledge persists in traditional cultures and small-scale artisanal producers, but it doesn't get the marketing amplification that supplement companies provide. The historical reality before refrigeration, fermentation wasn't a health trend, it was survival. The hungry gap, late winter and early spring, when last year's food ran out and this year's crops hadn't grown, would have killed populations without preserved foods. Sauerkraut in Germany, kimchi in Korea, pickles across Eastern Europe, fermented vegetables in China, where the practice originated over 2,000 years ago. Every region developed fermentation techniques using local vegetables and available salt. They didn't understand lactobacillus or vitamin K2 synthesis. They knew fermented vegetables prevented scurvy, lasted months without spoiling, and made people healthier during winter when fresh food was scarce. Modern science now documents why it works, the mechanisms behind effects our ancestors knew from observation. But the fundamental practice hasn't changed. Salt, vegetables, thyme, bacteria. How to do it. Chop cabbage. Massage it with salt until it releases juice. Pack it tightly into a jar. Ensure the vegetables stay submerged below the brine. This creates an anaerobic environment where beneficial bacteria thrive and harmful bacteria cannot survive. Seal the jar. Store at room temperature. In 3 to 7 days, you have sauerkraut. The longer you ferment, the more developed the flavor. The higher the bacterial count, the more vitamin K2 synthesized. Safety note: if you see fuzzy mold, any color, discard the batch. A white film on the surface, calm yeast, is harmless. Just skim it off. Properly fermented vegetables smell tangy and pleasantly sour, never putrid or rotten. The total cost? A cabbage and some salt. Maybe $3. The result is nutritionally superior to the raw vegetable and contains probiotic populations comparable to expensive supplements. Cucumbers become pickles. Carrots ferment beautifully. Peppers, green beans, cauliflower, beets. Any vegetable can be fermented. The bacterial species vary slightly by vegetable, but the process is identical. Traditional cultures didn't have pH meters or laboratory equipment. They used simple observation. If it smells right, tastes tangy, and has bubbles forming, fermentation is occurring. That's still accurate. What research shows: a 2024 systematic review analyzing fermented vegetables found documented benefits: reduced cardiovascular disease risk, improved bone health through vitamin K2, enhanced immune function, reduced inflammation, better digestive health, and potential mental health benefits through gut-brain axis modulation. Clinical trials on natto showed significant improvement in bone density markers in postmenopausal women. Kimchi studies showed reduced inflammation and improved metabolic markers in participants with obesity. Research on Lactobacillus plantarum from fermented vegetables showed enhanced gut barrier function and decreased systemic inflammation in human trials. These are peer-reviewed publications in mainstream journals documenting measurable physiological effects. The transformation is real. You're not imagining this. Raw cabbage contains vitamin C, fiber, some minerals, and plant compounds with modest health effects. Fermented cabbage contains all of that plus billions of probiotic bacteria. Vitamin K2 synthesized by those bacteria. Enhanced bioavailable polyphenols. Antimicrobial peptides, organic acids that fuel colon cells, and reduced anti-nutritional compounds. The transformation is measurable, documented, repeatable. You can create it in your kitchen for pennies. The science explains what traditional cultures knew empirically. Fermentation doesn't just preserve food. It fundamentally transforms it into something nutritionally superior to what you started with. That's not marketing. That's biochemistry.